I think I say this every Easter Sunday standing from this place. I have the best view in the house. We never look any better than we look right this minute. Thank you all so very much for coming to church today, this most glorious day of the year, Easter Sunday. I ran into somebody who's not a member of the church this past week, and he looked at me, looked at what I was wearing, and he said, "Isn't this week kind of like the Super Bowl with you?" And I replied, "And also with you." Look, whether you're a regular worshiper here, an irregular attendee, or this is your very first Sunday to be at Church of St. John the Divine, again, you have picked the best possible day for all of us to come together and worship. And I know that your presence, what I'm looking at right now, pleases God our Father so very, very much. So again, wherever you may be, I want you to hear this. In your engagement with God, in the life of the church, all the gospel accounts of the resurrection of Jesus make this thing very clear. It was not the insiders, it was not those closest to Jesus who were first at the empty tomb. Not one single member of those original 12 disciples got there first. Instead, all the Gospels record that it was women, loyal and faithful followers to be sure, but not the inner circle. So you don't have to be a part of the inner circle either to come to the empty tomb and encounter this morning everything that it really means. But why did they come? Why did the women come? On the first day of the week, at early dawn, the women came to the tomb taking spices that they had prepared. That is from the Gospel according to Luke in his account of that first Easter morning. 3 of these women are named later on in the story: Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary, the mother of James. The other women are not named. And this is the reason. This is the reason the women come to the tomb so early in the morning. It is to take care of some important but unfinished business, to make sure that Jesus receives a proper burial. Because in the world of the Bible, not to receive a proper burial was considered a grave misfortune, even for criminals. As you know, Jesus was crucified on Good Friday on the cross. And by the time his body was removed from the cross, it was getting late in the day. The Jewish Sabbath begins at sundown on Friday. And so before sundown, there was only time to get permission to remove his body from the cross, to wrap the corpse in a linen cloth, and to lay him in a burial tomb not far from where he was executed. The rest of the burial custom would have to wait until the Sabbath was over. And in the meantime, the women had observed where Jesus had been laid. They went home and they prepared spices and ointments to finish the job later, as soon as they possibly could, at early dawn after the Sabbath, that is to say, early this very morning. So the women arrive at the tomb bringing their spices, and this is really about 2 things, this part of the burial custom. It is an act of tender devotion as well as religious custom. But number 2, a very practical dimension, the spices and the ointments are meant to cover over the foul smell of the body's decomposition. The Greek word for spices here in our gospel today is aroma. You can't miss it, aroma. It is to be used to perfume the corpse, as the stone that is rolled over the tomb is not airtight. It is to offset the odor of the body's decay. Back in 2008, I was privileged to lead a group of Episcopalians on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. There were over 40 of us, and we were there in March, in the winter, and we came to that part of our pilgrimage where we were on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, and we were going to process down from the Mount of Olives down into the Kidron Valley to the Garden of Gethsemane. It was cold, it was blustery that day, the wind was whipping in our faces from the west. I handed out hymn sheets to our group. We tried to muster up all glory, laud, and honor just like we did last Palm Sunday as we came into the church. And our voices were swept away by the cold wind. For some of you who've been there, you know that as you're making your journey down from the Mount of Olives and the city of Jerusalem is right in front of you, there is to the left and down below you a large cemetery, hundreds and hundreds of slabs placed over above ground burial plots. And as we made our way down, I was kind of vaguely aware of something unpleasant, but trying to shepherd so many people, trying to sing, I didn't really focus on it. And then our guide, an Arab Christian, sidled up to me, Yusuf, and Yusuf said, "Do you smell it?" I said, "Smell what?" And he said, "Death." And it hit me just then. There had been a burial in that cemetery in recent days, and the odor was now in our nostrils. A part of me thought, well, how appropriate for what we're doing right this minute. But the larger part of me thought, this is unpleasant, and I would like to get away from it. And then I thought, I'm sure that's what Jesus felt as well. He didn't want to go there, but he did. He took on this body of decomposition, except that his death was just like ours and unlike ours at the same time. The women came to the tomb expecting to find a decomposing human body. What they found was that the stone had been rolled away from the tomb, and what they didn't find was the body. Deeply perplexed, the women are then shocked by the appearance of two angels announcing that Jesus is not dead, he is risen. What could this mean? Well, they're not sure yet. But again, credit these women for being the first Christian missionaries who race off to share the good news of the empty tomb, because they go and tell the disciples. And the disciples don't believe it. Do we? Well, one thing is for sure, there is no need for the spices, no need of anointing, no need to perfume over a foul odor to mask the smell of what is dead. And Easter means that's true for you as well. We no longer need to perfume our lives or spice them up or mask the things in our lives that are broken or sinful, our sadness, our hollowness, the emptiness inside of us, despite, and especially in a community like this, the outward appearance of so much that looks so good, to mask over what we present to the world and mask over what we actually present, or at least try to present to ourselves in the mirror. As you remember, Jesus says at one point in John's gospel, "I came that they might have life and have it abundantly." And oh, how we seek it. We want it. We strive for it. And too often, if not almost always, it seems, in our own power, without the only one who can truly provide it. Abundant life, life to the fullest. And in a way, without the living God at the center of our lives, this is what we do with our sin, with our suffering, even with our successes that do not bring the life for which we yearn. We perfume it over. We mask the smell of anything and everything that isn't truly alive. We try to project an image of ourselves that is better than what we really are, and we know it. We try to convince ourselves and others outwardly that we're fine. We're just fine. We're doing great, despite inward hurts and griefs and sorrows and worries and you name it. And we try to stitch together lives that look beautiful and so well crafted and so well earned and so well deserved, despite the incompleteness or the brokenness that we hide behind our successes. And Easter is the announcement you don't have to perfume your life anymore. Not because you aren't dying, but because he lives. The angel asked, "Why do you look for the living among the dead?" Don't expect the abundant life you yearn for to happen by masking all that is wrong in your life. He is risen. He and he alone has freed you. Put the spices away. I want to close with a story, which I think is A helpful illustration. I guess I wouldn't share it if I didn't think it was helpful. We'll see. Karen Stone was one of the most respected stage actresses of her generation. She's very beautiful, and it's even possible that her looks, stunning as they were even more impressive than her acting skills. But her beauty and her fierce ambition made her famous. Karen Stone worked very hard to get good roles. She relished being recognized. She relished the glowing reviews of her performances. She was married to a very wealthy man, and the two of them lived a luxurious lifestyle. But an unexpected and quite disorienting thing happened to Karen Stone. She never saw it coming. Mrs. Stone was knocked off kilter by negative reviews of her performance as Juliet in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. The main criticism? She was too old. Karen Stone had just turned 50. How could she not see how ridiculous it was playing the part of a nubile, virginal teenager at her age? Yes, she still retained a kind of radiant grandeur, but no amount of makeup could mask that she was middle-aged. She was unprepared for this jarring realization. The death of her self-image, if not quite her career yet. And then on top of that, her rich and pampering husband died suddenly too. The acting, the looks, the money, the lifestyle, these could not mask the truth of an empty life any longer. I think Karen Stone's story is a kind of parable to lay up against the Easter story this morning. It's actually a novel written by Tennessee Williams 75 years ago. It was the only novel Tennessee Williams ever wrote, the great playwright, entitled The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone. Despite her professional success, despite her social standing, despite her physical attributes, when the stone of Karen Stone's life is rolled away, there's nothing there but the smell of loneliness, regret, unfulfilled desire, a life with nothing to look forward to but death itself. But we're Easter people here. And there's no need for spices and ointments and perfumes and masks to cover up what we already know is true about us. And more importantly, what God knows is true about us even better than we do ourselves. That's what Jesus' whole life and crucifixion and now his resurrection this morning are all about. Because of Jesus Christ, crucified and risen, we can come before the Lord just as we are. No cover up, no mask, nothing to make our lives smell better than they really are. But every single thing in our lives that does not lead to abundant life, but rather bends toward the absence of life, to death itself, has been taken on by Jesus on the cross, down into the grave, and then raised in glory to the Father. He's taken it. You are loved that much. For this love of God for you is completed. It is demonstrated once for all. It is victorious. And it is forever. Please, I say to you, and I say in my own mirror, you can put the spices away. He is risen. Amen.